Welcome to the Transforming Healthcare Coaching Podcast, where we're all about helping healthcare professionals like you create positive change at work, at home, and everywhere in between. Welcome, everyone, to Transforming Healthcare Coaching Podcast. And we're super excited because this is our 50th episode. And apparently, not all podcasts survive and not all podcasts make it to 50 or 100. And so I'll tell you, we are shooting for 100 and more. So I'm super excited today to be joined with our podcast director, Klaus Grim, physician associate, extraordinaire educator, mentor, and our podcast director. So he is a coach, obviously here at Transforming Healthcare Coaching, but he serves a much more important role as well, which is to get the word out, hear your suggestions, design, brand, and figure out what we should talk about. Figure out what is going to be important for the healthcare community to learn about through this podcast and also get engagement and be of service to you. So, Klaus, I don't know if you want to say any words in celebration of our 50th episode.
No, I can't believe it's almost been a year of kind of content creation. And I've passed on this podcast information to a lot of my colleagues who are probably listening right now. And they've been instrumental to help us figure out what to be talking about. And so if you're listening now, again, hit that like button, put a comment wherever you're listening from on anything that you would be of interest to you, on anything well-being, because we do really, truly want to help you guys thrive. And by doing so, you help spread the word so that other healthcare professionals who may not know what that first step towards living a healthier, well life looks like can jump on board and start that conversation and growth with us. And also subscribe. All these things really do help us create the content and continue moving this forward. So thank you guys for joining us on this journey so far.
So I want to talk a little bit about the lessons we've learned. And I know in many other podcasts, especially for creators, they talk about, this is how I do it. Let me show you the back end of my studio and get people curious and inspired and sort of show the back end. So I guess I want to start with, so this episode is going to be a deep dive into all of those things. And I guess I'm going to start off with, what's your favorite part about the podcast production and creation?
I think it's the growth. It's learning something different than medicine. I think that's the beauty of what we've been doing as entrepreneurs, Lily, is that we've been building and learning again, which is what is the foundation of most medical practices in specialties is continuing education. And we are continuing our education outside the realm of medicine a little bit from the well-being, from coaches. Obviously, we're expanding our knowledge and learning more about what other healthcare professionals are needing. But in terms of the podcast, when we first started, I was just my laptop, microphone through the laptop, no lighting, didn't know like that you had to be in a certain position to have the best kind of look on video camera. So I love these little aspects of doing that. And then appreciating actually what others do to make a podcast go live. There is so many little steps that I think you could agree with, Lily, just to make this go live and to spread this out to the communities.
Yeah, I think definitely the best thing has been really just the production process of learning all of the creative aspects and also getting to think of an idea and play around with things and understand that what we've learned over the year, from just an idea to a topic, to getting guest speakers, to thinking about a topic. Is it interesting enough? Is it what people are searching for? Is it of interest? Just that entire aspect in terms of the production line. And I think for me, the biggest thing is just been able to play around on our software. Our software is the script that we use to edit, just to play it out in the creative community with all kinds of other people who are making all kinds of videos for all different types of reasons.
And it's also good to the community aspect of getting guests, I think has been so much fun too, is that there is a lot of people out there that want to spread some kind of knowledge or advice or experiences. And we love that. We are so open for that. And that has been another incredible fun thing to play around with, is just connecting with people again, connecting with people that we normally probably wouldn't have connected with in the first place. And also, I think many who are listening can get triggered sometimes with the word well-being and wellness. What is it? And why do you think I need it? And I'm ready. What are you talking about? And I think we are doing a good job, but we're also learning about how to better portray that message to you guys, that well-being doesn't have to be this boring, annoying, cliche topic that has previously been promoted in the world, but it can actually be something that you can really do in your own life to really be in and have the life that you want by taking just small intentional steps every day.
I like that concept. I think the other thing too is we know that healthcare professionals love podcasts. We learn this way. We can do it while we're driving into work. It's an easy way to be able to stay in conversation, community with people. And I think what's probably been the most important for us, at least, is to maybe redefine and sort of destigmatize sort of people's internal negative associations with well-being or resilience or these concepts that are actually used to describe the greater phenomenon. The reality is, we as coaches have a perspective that helps meet individuals where they're at. And I think by having this method and this platform to be able to talk about all the different things that affect healthcare professionals, that actually will be the way we can help one person at a time.
And they're very humble conversations that we have. And the way I like to say it too is a lot of people are like, what am I going to get from this? You guys are just talking. How many times do you talk to a patient and you learn something that you're like, oh, I could be doing that too, or something that you could apply to your everyday life? We learn from our patients, from the people that are around us all the time. And you might just catch one or two things in each episode that you can resonate with that you could apply to your everyday life. Obviously, we're not coaching you through a podcast episode, but if you're interested in some of these modalities and the things that we do encourage you to make a next step and book a discovery call with us, because we do believe in the power of coaching. We do believe in the power of personal development and that growth mindset.
I want to take a little bit of a turn. Let's go back in time. When you first volunteered to be the podcast director, what were your thoughts and feelings a year or so ago?
I was nervous. I was like, where do we start? Like, I had to start doing some research. I'm like, okay, let's research. How do you start a podcast? How do you protect yourself on a podcast? What is it that you're talking about on a podcast? There were so many different things. And then obviously I'm a healthcare professional. You and I still practice full-time clinically. But I was like, is what I and we want to discuss about relevant to our healthcare community? So a lot of it was reaching out to people I work with and hearing about what struggles they're having and challenges that they're having. So I was very nervous in the beginning, and I was like, "How are we gonna do this? Like, how do we get it on Apple and Spotify? Oh, is there just one platform that does it all? Where are we gonna record things? Where are we gonna store things? Who's gonna be part of the episodes?" We're 5 coaches, so in the beginning, remember, we were all 5 of us on each episode at the beginning, which is still great. We still did so much, but we learned that, more people wanted more of that one-on-one talks or one-on-3 so that there was more talking time from one particular person. Yeah, it was challenging, and it still is challenging. There's many challenging parts of it every day, and you and I are still involved in a lot of learnings about how to improve what we get with our content and the way we push things out, and how do we connect with people and get more followers, because we do believe, and I hope if you're listening, you believe in the power of what we speak about, that it could benefit from somebody who's struggling with something as a result of working in healthcare. And we want to help shift people out of those challenges into a more solution-oriented mindset. How about you, Lily? What's coming to mind about when we first started?
It's funny because I think back then it really was just about, ooh, getting to make something. So it was just simply like all fun. And then there were these little stuck points where the software sort of annoyed me in terms of the script, the software that we use to edit. And we definitely learned. I still remember all those late nights where we'd be texting each other trying to figure out some little glitch on the video. And it's also very empowering just to be able to make something, get better at talking, find really interesting people to talk with. I do love talking with people. And so finding the other people to just chat with really has been just mostly fun for me. And I'm really grateful for you. It's something I think it would be hard. I know there's a lot of people who actually have solopreneur podcasts who talk by themselves and they script out everything. And we do not script out our interviews. These are true, authentic conversations that we have with all of our guests. We do a little bit of powwow ahead of time, but we want things to be fresh and natural and authentic. And I think for us, it's really just been a matter of playing around to see what works and to see where things go naturally and organically. We want people to feel that from us because that's actually how all of our relationships are with all of our coaches.
I love that, and I agree with you. And we'll maybe prepare a couple questions in advance to get the conversation flowing. But yeah, it's very limited scripting. In the beginning, I think we did try and script out things in the beginning, remember? And we were like, this isn't working. This isn't the way we work with our clients. This is not how we talk in real life. And it actually, I think, took away a lot of those nervous jitters that we all had about like how we're going to go up on screen and talk. And that's what we did is, you know what? Don't prepare. Just be present and talk. Talk about what comes to mind when that happens. And I think it's beautiful. And I think we've grown as human beings as a result of it. And it's not just helped us portray ourselves on this podcast and the videos that we've been doing in our group coaching calls, but as even individuals, being able to speak to people more fluently, better about what we do as coaches and who we are as human beings. It's an invaluable learning asset that we got from this.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, I mean, the reality is this all initially started as LinkedIn live audio events way back in the day, even the year before this. We just were chatting video off LinkedIn on live audios, which no longer exists on that platform. It was just conversations with people. And so everyone was just like a little icon, like they're a picture. There's no video. And we really learned over time to step into more and more of bravery. And so I think our lesson with the podcast for the last 2 years also has been deliberate, intentional movement forward in upskilling ourselves, a growth mindset to actually just keep pushing our own individual boundary. And we're going to keep on going. And so we're really glad that all of you, the early listeners, are here with us, because part of it, I think, at least for me, some of the lessons really have been, and my word for that year was sustainability. It was just consistent sustainability. Can we keep this going? Because that's actually how we start to have it. And so when we coach our clients, we talk about these things. And so I have to walk the talk. And so for me, this journey with you, Klaus, has really been about, can we keep this going and have regular life, which is our personal lives, our clinical lives, and actually itch a whole new scratch that I didn't know I had with this creative outlet for video creation.
Yeah. And what's actually just came up to mind for this as well is what we've learned is that from just coaching our clients, from doing this with the podcast, having special guests, is many people have something to say, something powerful that can teach or give insight to our healthcare community. So I would empower you, if this has somewhat intrigued you, to say, oh, I want to be on camera. I want to try something. Email us at podcast@transforminghealthcarecoaching.com and connect with me, and we'll see if there's a topic around something about well-being and healthcare, something that aligns with what we do here at Transforming Healthcare Coaching. And we'd love to maybe feature you and see how we can amplify your voice and your learnings and your experiences and your knowledge to the community, because I do believe that so many people have something to say that can really inspire and cause a ripple effect of positive change in the healthcare community.
I love that. So I'm wondering, how are we going to make this podcast a sustainable creative endeavor for the both of us moving forward? I don't know whether you want to share any thoughts you might have on that.
I think it's really still getting the feedback from the people that we know. And we'd love to get to know you guys a lot more as well. We've had a few comments on Apple and Spotify. We really would value your feedback from wherever you're listening from. And if you don't feel comfortable posting on there, feel free, again, to email podcast@transforminghealthcarecoaching.com. And from there, we can build some content that is specific towards you. So I think the more that we can get feedback and the more likes and subscriptions that we get to the platforms, again, that spreads this out further so that we can continue to gather more information, because we can talk. We have no problem talking about specific topics. I think we have a breadth of knowledge. But again, if there's some people that you actually think would actually make a great guest speaker for us as well, that would be helpful as well. We are more than willing to reach out to whoever to see if we can get onto the podcast, to see if they can amplify a message and teach you and everybody, and us included, on something that's very empowering. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I want to say, like, for us also as well, we figured out through the creative juices, eventually, sometimes you just start staring at a plan. We didn't have a plan. At some point, we actually said, we need to probably have a better strategy for how we begin the coming year. And so what initially began with a lot of like excitement, like happiness, joy, creativity, we figured out all the kinks. And then at some point it became, we have a blank page, and how are we going to fill this up for the next year? And let's make a game plan. So just like we work with our clients, it's great to have a big goal, but you still have to break it down somehow. And we have to have some kind of strategy. And when we talk with anyone. Keeping things organized is really useful. So we have shared processes between the two of us in terms of how we alert each other, in terms of what different processes need to happen next, in terms of editing, double checking, final creativity check, how this links into other parts of our coaching business and letting people who are on our newsletter subscription list. So if you're not on our newsletter subscription list, that might be another thing you may want to consider. You'll get like the too long didn't read version of the podcast. And then if it interests you, along with a couple other tidbits that we throw in on our newsletter that you can actually subscribe to. So the two are intertwined so that we can help as many people as possible. And it also makes it more easy to share. I mean, sometimes people don't love getting like a YouTube link on their phone from a friend. So we make it also so this maybe a little bit easier to share on email. So this is something to sort of to think about if you're listening.
Yeah, the way to sign up for the newsletter is in every single podcast episode description, whether that be Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, pretty much anywhere you're listening to podcasts on our website. And I would recommend actually you subscribe to that. It comes out every Tuesday morning. And so if you didn't catch the podcast or you did, and you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot exactly what they said. There's something that was empowering that I could apply to my everyday life. That episode newsletter actually will highlight a lot of that information and then give you the direct link oftentimes to go right back to that episode if you want to re-listen to it or listen to it if you didn't already. So I would highly recommend that. It's a fun place to get some information.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, what are you hoping for the coming year in terms of the podcast, Klaus?
We actually have some great guest speakers lined up for this year. And so I think for 2025 is to really continue to get expert guest speakers on here and to continue to promote. But I think it's really to hear from you guys. I think that would be my greatest wish for this 2025 is to hear more from you guys about how this maybe has affected you, what maybe one thing you've learned from this, or maybe one thing you've applied in your everyday life from any of our conversations. 50 episodes, that's a lot of content if you have listened to all of it, obviously. But maybe something you've learned or something you'd like to learn. These are things that I'm hoping is to get more information from our listeners and our viewers so that we can continue pushing great content. How about you, Lily?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm wondering about looking back at our data to sort of see what has gone well or what has resonated before and giving you more of those types of things. So one of our more popular episodes actually was about stress and dealing with stress way back in the early days of our files. So I'm wondering whether to revisit some of the things that were resonated and had more downloads than others. And then I also wonder, one of the other popular episodes actually was when I coached you. And so I actually am wondering whether or not people who have experienced coaching before, either our former clients, our current clients, ourselves, coaching is sort of normalized as we go through training to become a coach, that you can just get quick coaching for 30 minutes at any point. Almost anyone who is a coach can attest to this in terms of their training programs as this happens. I'm wondering whether or not people want to get a little bit of free coaching, and we can do that on an episode. So they'll sort of push the boundaries of what's out there. There's only a few podcasts that do that in terms of live coaching on a coaching podcast. So I don't know, maybe push the boundary a little bit. So for me, I think it's a little bit of reflection backwards, give people more what they want, and also take a deeper dive potentially into other things related to the stressors that are occurring in healthcare, and then maybe to push the boundaries a little.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, if that's something you'd be interested in, please let us know. Again, that email podcast@transforminghealthcarecoaching.com. But if you don't feel comfortable doing the coaching online, you can also book a discovery call with us. That link's usually in our descriptions as well to our website, where you can book a discovery call with Lily, who will see who would be the best coach fit for you, whether that be Lily or another coach of ours. And we can give you a taste of coaching for complimentary just to get an idea and see if that's for you. You can learn and hear about coaching all you want, but until you really experience it, it's really hard to assimilate it and make it feel like it's part of your everyday life. So we'd encourage you to take that extra step. If you've been following along and you're like, I'm getting it, I like the advice, I like the insights, I just don't know how to apply it to my everyday life, that's one way we would recommend you move forward.
So I think a lot of the people are listening, they have secret creative dreams that are sort of sitting inside. I know a lot of people want to either own their own shop or write a book or start a podcast. I'm wondering if it might be helpful if we think through the things that we have gone through, and if we had to, what things we know now that we didn't know in the beginning. Understanding that all learning is fine and perfect the way it is and it had to happen the way it happened. But I'm wondering if you have any advice, and if you had to go tell yourself a year ago to do or not do certain things, is there any advice you'd probably give your former self?
I think it'd be to follow my intuition. Like, I had experienced coaching during PA school. Like, it was required of me, part of one of my rotations that was a requirement for this particular one. And I'm initially so hesitant, didn't want to do it. But when I did, I loved it. I fell in love with it. And it had always been in the back of my mind of how I could implement this into even my patient care or even into my everyday life to actually hire a coach. But it took several years later of just ultimate burnout to really be like, okay, I need a solution. And so going through coaching school, which initially was just more so for me, just to learn coaching techniques for to provide better patient care, but also to get a taste of coaching for myself and see how far I want to pursue this in terms of hiring a coach. I realized that it's so powerful. So my intuition was telling me for a while. It really took a call with our coaching school that we went to, IPEC, with an admissions counselor saying that our prices are going up in a few months. So if you're going to pursue this, now is the time. And I had pushed it back a year afterwards. So I think listening to yourself and saying, I have some kind of experience, I have some kind of drive and motivation towards something, and then start taking those first steps. It doesn't need to be a complete picture. You don't need to have the 10-year plan ahead of you. Just know that you have a drive. Take a step, even if it's just like watching YouTube videos on a particular thing. YouTube is amazing. Now you have AI. AI can summarize a profession or something that you can do and the steps and to get, if it's, I think you used this example recently, like if you want to open a donut shop, right? Ask AI, how do you open up a donut shop? Right? And then follow up with some prompts on it based off your particular circumstances. You don't have the knowledge about how to create the business structure, look it up. And just trying to get the understanding, because I think if you have more awareness and a more of a generalized understanding of what the process looks like, you get a little bit more motivated to say, okay, I can take that first step.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that's pretty much Marie Forleo's entire book of everything is figure outable. And especially now with AI questioning, allowing you to get knowledge a bit faster. And then what I do love about AI, it's actually caused people to ask more thoughtful questions. So I think just being much more curious and asking the knowledge container of scrubbing the internet of language and words. I think for me, like looking back past year, is to some degree the joy and creativity portion of creating the podcast, that you will be able to figure it out and that you'll do the next right thing. And I do say this pretty often even with my clients, like just take the next first micro step, because then you'll be able to figure out the next thing. And so even with the podcast, what initially started with just like, it's so fun just to interview people. And now the evolution is now figuring out, well, going after bigger people and like finding more voices to amplify and really maturing this platform for a place where people can feel welcome, feel heard, and be authentic, so that we can share and amplify what's necessary in healthcare. No matter who you are, where you're listening from, is just to take the very first little step necessary. And I think for me too, it's been really helpful to actually bring a friend along. So I think it's really helpful to not be alone in that, which is why we have the MedTHRIVE community. We created it this past year because we realized from our own lived experiences this past year with transforming healthcare coaching that even coaches entering into a marketplace for healthcare professionals, it's better together than anything else. And so same thing, when you go learn something, whether you're going to start a new podcast yourself or open the donut shop, go find a diverse group of other influences. So for all of us, we do individual learning, and not just for healthcare, but it's also business people, creative people, marketing people. Like everyone is really interesting now to all of us because there's so much you can learn, not just in the bubbles that you're living in. I think that's probably what exposed me the most this past year, was the fact that there are so many other creative professional communities in large organizations and small organizations, startups, individual. It's a whole new world.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add is being able to shift and pivot. So you may take that micro step in this development towards doing something you never thought you would do for content creation or growth that's outside of medicine. Just being okay that you've tried that one step, it didn't work. Now, on to the next step as a result of that first step and being okay with that. I think many people will say there's no such thing as failure, but people are afraid of failure. And to them, that's a self-perceived failure. But in it, you won't grow unless you've actually tried it. You won't be able to make those steps towards that dream you have unless you continue to make steps. Even if it's a step backward, you can step back forward again. And then community, I think that is a unspoken thing in the beginning that we didn't know was a huge thing for people. We knew it was important for us. We had a community. We're us 5 coaches, but we also had other communities, our healthcare communities and whatnot. But from what we're hearing from our clients, what we're hearing from you guys, our viewers, and our expert guest speakers, community is such a huge thing that people, and it's hard because of social media and whatnot, and the way in healthcare that you're just looking for people who just get it. That's where our MedTHRIVE community comes in. It's just healthcare, it's human beings, and it's growth. And that's where we sit. So if you're interested, again, sign up for that newsletter, and then we'd happy to send you some more information about our MedTHRIVE community.
Yeah. So I really don't have any other questions. Do you have questions for me?
I always have questions for you.
Oh, no.
No. It may not be related to this podcast episode as we build this podcast and our group coaching programs. But I guess, Lily, like in terms of the podcast, what's your next big endeavor that you have with this podcast? And what do you seek to achieve with this podcast 3 years down the road?
Hmm. I think it'd be really lovely if this podcast could be a place where we know that all the people who want to make healthcare better for the frontline people. So we're people at the heart of it. I know that many other influencers out there are about increasing your financial health and wealth and your mindset. They're about your physical well-being. They're about your relationships. We see everything a bit holistically. And so I think I'd love this platform to be a place where it's really about the people who want to help other healthcare professionals become better people. So that's going to be people who are interested in leveling up their professional lives, their personal lives, their financial lives. All those people eventually will come on this podcast. And that this is a place where that if you're interested in just being a better version of you, how you define you, that this will be the place you're going to keep on your list of podcasts that you routinely go to. We all know that everybody listens to a couple different podcasts to help with their personal growth if they're learning. We just want to be on the lineup somewhere where it's like, oh, hey, that's kind of neat. And only because we specifically talk to people who are in the healthcare industry. I do think it's important that you also listen to other people who are outside the healthcare industry. That's how I've learned a lot of different things. But we also just want to be sort of that home for that it's going to be about the person first. What about you?
I absolutely love that. What resonates with me and the way that I hope our viewers and our future viewers see us is that we see you as more than just a healthcare professional, a pharmacist, a nurse, a PA, nurse practitioner, a physician, any other healthcare field. Sorry if I'm not saying it right now. But we see you as so much more than just your title, that you are a human being. And we hope that this podcast really speaks to you and grounds you when you're starting to have challenges and struggles as a result of working in healthcare. You're struggling with work-life balance, or you're struggling with burnout, or you're just seeking solutions in terms of leadership opportunities. How can I advance my career? Or do I stay in my career? Do I go somewhere else? Do I do something else? That you can come back to this podcast and say, and listen to the episodes and just be like, okay, these are people who are in healthcare who just are human beings talking about something to keep me well. And obviously search for an episode that resonates with you. But it's real life conversations with healthcare people who are talking about real world stuff. That's what I hope. And I hope beyond everybody's top 3 podcasts that you can go to. And again, I oftentimes even re-listen to some of our episodes. I need people who get where I'm coming from, but it's not all about healthcare and medicine and the job, because that stuff. You went to school, you've worked so hard. It's the real world application stuff.
Yeah, it's in the execution of the integration of all of life, because we are so much more than just our job title. It's only one identity. We have many identities that are really important for all of our well-beings. Well, thank you all for listening this far and celebrating our 50th episode, and we will see you on the next one. Again, Like, subscribe, please share with a friend. Please help us by forwarding this along to somebody. Sign up for our newsletter, click below, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share with a colleague who would benefit. Together, we can transform healthcare one person at a time. Find us anywhere you find your podcasts. Ready to take your healthcare leadership journey to the next level? Book a discovery call, free, at transforminghealthcarecoaching.com to explore our personalized coaching packages designed specifically for healthcare professionals like you.